Enchantments have been around since the beginning of Magic, but they haven't really been the focal point of that many sets, and it's kind of obvious why. Artifacts are tangible objects, they're weapons and stones and statues and constructs and so on, so it makes sense why you can make them the focal point of a set. Creatures are creatures, they're monsters and humans and animals and so on, but enchantments, they're concepts, they're vague in what they are and how to define them on a physical level, so it's harder on average to make more of them. What is an enchantment creature versus a regular creature? It can be hard to say and define. There are enchantment matter sets, but they are a bit more rare than the other card types, and like I said, I think there's a good reason for it. However, I feel Duskmourn has been the best stab at it yet, making the Glimmers and Eerie events and Haunted Rooms enchantments in order to find them more in the plane than some other sets was a really smart idea in my opinion. And tackling different ways to care about them, like auras, rooms, enchantment creatures, and so on, was another great idea. Today we'll be looking at one of the commanders from Duskmourn, Aminatou Veil Piercer, to celebrate the spooky season. We'll go over the commander, talk about the deck's goals and playstyles, then do sort of a card by card in the different categories, and then finally show off the deck and do some test hands. With that being said, let's get started on the commander. Aminatou Veil Piercer is a legendary human wizard that costs 1 and Esper and reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 2. Each enchantment card in your hand has Miracle. Its Miracle cost is equal to its mana cost reduced by 4. Miracle is a mechanic from Avacyn Restored that lets you cast the card you just drew with Miracle instantly for a reduced mana cost. It's supposed to be a feels-good moment of you coming back from a bad situation or give you a cool moment at the start of your turn. The mechanic sadly has multiple issues. First off, the rules are very weird with it in physical Magic. Most people just mindlessly draw their card and put it in their hand, and at that point you can't prove that the card you just drew was the one with Miracle, so you have to specifically cast it for its Miracle cost before you put it in your hand, not after, and you have to always remember to check. Second, you have to deal with a bit of feels bad if you have it in your opening hand, or if you draw it while in the position where it's not helpful. Aminatou kind of fixes this, as it's giving Miracle to all of the enchantments you draw, and it's much less of a feels bad moment since most Miracle cards are naturally overcosted to make the reduction from Miracle have more impact, whereas your normal enchantments are probably more properly costed. I think it's a good card with a decent bit of variety in builds. You can focus on auras or sagas, roles or rooms. You can make a basic Enchantress deck with a Scry and Surveil theme. There's a decent bit that you can mix and match to get a deck that you find cool. The Surveil is also nice, giving us a sub-theme direction of Topdeck Manipulation that actually has a decent win con, which is usually what Scry and Surveil Matters decks lack. Now for the third thing, rooms. While she doesn't specifically mention or benefit from rooms, rooms are a major theme of the Duskmourn set, and they are in Esper colors mostly in that set, so I feel they are worth mentioning here, since they will be a sub-theme in the deck. Rooms are enchantments that are similar to split cards in that they have 2 halves. When you cast them, you pick one half of the room to cast, and at any point during your turn, at sorcery speed, you can unlock the other half by paying its mana cost while on the field, which unlocks the other room. They sound more complicated than they are, honestly. Just pick the half you want to cast, and while it's on the field, you can cast the other half to unlock its abilities. We'll be focusing on enchantment and rooms matters with a Scry and Surveil sub-theme in order to trigger her Miracle ability. This is going to be a difficult one to talk about since there are so many enchantments and enchantment matters cards. I swear next time I'm picking something more simple to give myself a break. Let's get into it then. Archon of Sun's Grace gets you a life-linking Pegasus whenever one of your enchantments enter, which can help you build board presence, which can help since this deck doesn't have a ton of creatures in it. 4 mana is a bit high mana-wise, but I think it's worth it personally. Bael'Murch Leech can get out of hand if you play a bunch of smaller enchantments, and can be a finisher in a pinch if you have 3 or 4 small enchantments in your hand towards the end of a game. It's not amazing or anything, but it can be helpful. Doomwake Giant is something I didn't originally run, but I was convinced after testing, and yeah, it's pretty good. It can help your creatures swing in easier by making your opponent's stuff smaller, and can even be a decent board wipe with just 2 or 3 enchantments. 5 mana is a lot, but it is an enchantment creature, so you can Miracle it in with the commander for only 1 mana. Entity Tracker gets you some decent card draw. Not a lot to say about it. Flash seems kind of pointless here. I don't see when that'll come up. Still a good card, though. Fear of Infinity is one of my favorites in the deck. It makes good sack fodder if you need it, and also recurs itself back to your hand, so you can cast it and get another Eerie or Constellation trigger. Great card, also cool art. Ghostly Dancers costs a bit much, especially considering it's not an enchantment, so it doesn't get the miracle reduction, but it's still a good card. It gets you back enchantments to your hand so you can cast them later, and the tokens it creates are decently sized. It can also unlock rooms instead of recurring enchantments, which can help in a pinch if you have a bigger room too. I kinda wish it triggered on attack as well, but we'll take what we can get here. Mesa Enchantress isn't Eerie or Constellation, but it's close enough. It's a good draw outlet that makes for an okay chump blocker, and if you use an enchantment with flash on an opponent's turn to draw a card, if that card's an enchantment, you can miracle it in instant speed, which is always nice and fun to do. Moonblessed Cleric is great. It puts any enchantment you want on top, which gets a big reduction from your commander when you draw it, and it's on enters and not cast, so if you revive it or bounce it, you can do it again. She's a blessing for this deck indeed. Optimistic Scavenger is a simple one-drop that can make your creatures bigger. Putting a few counters on your commander to make it a big blocker is also nice at the very least. And it can help you close out games in a pinch. Not insane or anything, but still good. Protean Thaumaturge? Look, I'm not good at this, okay? Anyways, it's good. It becomes a copy of any creature you want whenever an enchantment enters, and it doesn't have to be your own. It's a nice way to double up on some effects like Eerie or Constellation triggers, and can copy an opponent's creature if you need to. Good card, lots of fun. Victor, Valvagoth's Seneschal, is one of the best cards in the deck. The Surveil effect is great at setting up your draw for a miracle, the discard effect is good, and the third effect is insane recursion. It's not like you're going to get 3 enchantments to enter every turn, but it can make for a big push by reviving a massive creature. As for ones that I don't run, but you can, I like Cult Healer, but it's not really a good card. Getting a lifelink 3/3 sometimes for 3 mana is not really worth it. There's plenty of better creatures that already have lifelink naturally that you can run instead. I still am a sucker for lifelink, so I figured it'd be worth mentioning, I guess. Dashing Bloodsucker's a bit better, since it also gets a decent bit bigger. If your build spams the hell out of enchantments, this can be an okay finisher. Otherwise, I guess it's fine. The same thing applies to Erratic Apparition. Gremlin Tamer's fine. It gets you some basic 1/1s and makes for an okay 2/2 blocker. It's just that it's never made enough tokens for it to really matter or come up that much for me. But if you play enough smaller enchantments, it could be a good way to flood the board. Grim Guardian's a pretty good way to inch the game closer, but, and you'll hear this a lot in this video, I just didn't have the room for it. This is 100% a deck where I got to like 120 cards and had to cut a lot of shit. Onju Spirit Dancer copies an enchantment that enters each turn, which you can get out of hand since doubling up on some insane enchantments is always fun. It's just like $4 or $5. Scrabbling Skullcrab is a great name, and it's also a good early game blocker that adds an okay mill engine to any player in the deck. But I feel the Surveil 2 we get every turn from the commander is enough for a graveyard setup personally. Shoalkraken would be fine if it didn't cost so much mana. 5 mana is kind of insane for this effect to me, but play it if you don't mind that. Unwilling Vessel's pretty good. I just didn't have the room for it, so I cut it when we had to get this to 100. Bottomless Pool lets you bounce a problem card an opponent controls that gets past indestructible, but can also be used to bounce your own creatures to re-trigger an Eerie or Constellation type effect, and the Locker Room half is a good reconnaissance mission type effect, which you can get from 1 mana if you miracle cast it. Both sides are pretty good here. Central Elevator searches for a room that you don't already have, which is great of course, while Promising Stairs is a funny alt-win condition that will not come up in 99% of your games, but I suppose that it can, since we do run more than the 9 minimum rooms for this effect. The Surveil effect is also a nice bonus. If you're focused on rooms, go for it. If you don't super care about rooms, you can leave it out. Cramped Vents is a decent enough removal spell with a little life gain as a bonus, but isn't the best thing ever, especially in black where you have access to much better removal. Access Maze, however, is pretty damn good. Getting you a free spell every turn is crazy, and can help you cast bigger enchantments you wouldn't miracle in otherwise. Great card. Dazzling Theater is good, especially if you're cheating in an enchantment creature with Miracle, as you can get it out for 0 mana. But it's good in general too, and can give some use to the eerie effects that generate small tokens. Prop Room is only super useful with the Convoke effect, the other half has, and not a ton of creatures here tap themselves, but I guess it's fine. Defiled Crypt is as good as your Recursion. We have an alright amount of Recursion here, so I think it's pretty alright. If your build doesn't have as much Recursion, I'd say cut it. Cadaver Lab is fine. I mean, it just gets back a guy to your hand, nothing too crazy. It is a cheap enchantment for your eerie effects at least. Derelict Attic is a good draw spell for the cost that also gets you Eerie triggers, which is nice. Widow's Walk is fine. It gives a lone attacker death touch and a tiny boost. Nothing too special, but I mean, it's fine. Meat Locker's okay. Stunning a creature can help close a game if there's an annoying blocker on the field, while the other half is a worse version of the Attic in my opinion. It's mostly in here to have 9 rooms for the alt win, honestly. Mirror Room is good, making a copy of anything you like on the board. A basic copy effect, but it's still a nice one. Making it a reflection is solely flavor here, since it doesn't really add anything if you were wondering. Fractured Realms doubles up on all of your Eerie and Constellation effects, which is obviously good. 7 mana is a lot, but you have the Miracle effect and some enchantment reducers, so I think it's worth it. Polluted Cistern is a final way to get some extra damage from your surveils that your commander gives you. It's not amazing, but it's fine enough. Dim Oubliette is a great recursion card that also fills your graveyard some, and since you're surveilling a lot, it's pretty good to revive a big creature that you dumped with your commander. Restricted Office is a good board wipe, especially since a decent amount of creatures are on the small side, and your commander dodges it. Lecture Hall is a bit steep cost-wise, but still good, especially if you miracle it in. Surgical Suite is a good recursion spell. Not tons to say about here. Hospital Room's the same deal. It's a good way to get your creatures bigger. As for the rooms we don't run, but you can, Dollmaker Shop is a nice way to get board presence, getting you 3 a turn if you attack everybody, which is great. Porcelain Gallery is an odd double-edged sword card, since it can really hurt after a board wipe, or if your field is mostly empty, but can also make your board absolutely massive. I think it's a good enough card, but it's like $5. Funeral Room is fine. At the very least, your opponents are going to get drained for 1 whenever your blockers die. It's not really an aristocrat deck though, so death by combat's what's going to happen 99% of the time. Awakening Hall is great, especially with Miracle. 2 black is a pretty decent rate for reviving everything. It's just like $4 or $5, just like the last one. Grand Entryway is whatever. It makes a one-time 1/1. Does trigger Eerie effects twice, but it's still nothing special. Elegant Rotunda is okay. Putting 2+1/+1 counters on something is alright. It's just not crazy or anything. I mean, they're fine. Secret Arcade is weird. It doesn't change the things you draw, so Miracle isn't helped by it, I guess. I guess it makes any of your permanents trigger Eerie or Constellation, but 99% of what we run are enchantments anyway, so there's not tons this helps with. The other half is better and may make it worth running. I just don't have room for it. Pardon the pun. Underwater Tunnel is just a Surveil 1 for 1 mana, which is okay, especially since it triggers your Eerie stuff for just 1 mana. Slimy Aquarium's a bit better, but kind of a non-bow since it doesn't cause Eerie or Constellations to trigger. It's whatever. Unholy Annex is a fine draw outlet, though you're not really running any demons here. The other half helps with that, but 5 mana for 1 token isn't super appealing to me. I'd probably run it if it was a bit cheaper, money-wise, but eh. And that's every single room that exists in our colors. This may be a weird section since a lot of these cards can just be described as it's a good enchantment to miracle in, but I'll try my best to go into some detail. Archetype of Imagination is a great card in a lot of decks, but is even better here. If you miracle it in, you can get all of your creatures flying, and since it gets rid of your opponent's flying, all of your stuff can get in unless they have reachers. Sometimes the deck can lack a win con, and having this out and swinging every turn can help a lot with that. Arvanax the Mind Flail is a massive 9/9 that steals your opponent's libraries. It kinda sucks that it's only permanents and not sorceries or instants or so on, but it's still a good card that can end games if it becomes a creature. Arthros Shroud Veiled. Arthros Shout. Oh my fucking god. Arthros Shroud Veiled is one of my favorite big enchantments in the deck. It can build up your board presence, especially if you spread your coins correctly, and then do a big board wipe to make a great comeback. Demon of Fate's design is another favorite of mine, being a huge trampling flyer that gets you enchantments for life instead of mana. The Aristocrat effect could come up, but it really hasn't for me. It's a good card nonetheless. Fear of Sleep Paralysis is a fun one too. I can see it being too mean or your playgroup not digging it because honestly getting your entire board tapped down and being unable to untap it can be infuriating, but I like it. Soaring Lightbringer can make your enchantment creatures get in easier, while also getting you 3 Eerie triggers if you attack all of your opponents. It's really good. Debtor's Knell is normally only okay in my opinion, since 7 mana can be a bit fucking insane, but here you can reduce that to just 3 mana, which obviously helps a lot. Being able to revive any creature from any graveyard is great, especially since you can get back enchantment creatures to trigger Eerie or Constellation effects. Extravagant Replication can copy anything you have out every turn, which can not only trigger Eerie and Constellation, but can also copy the cards with Eerie or Constellation to double up. It's a great card. Life Endurance is an okay way to ramp. Normally I'd be a bit iffy on it being 5 mana, but for the 2 mana it is here a lot of the time, it's fine. Just be careful not to run into an opponent killing you by sacking off their board or using a massive board wipe to kill you instantly, since it's not optional. One with the Multiverse is very good here. Being able to look at the top of your deck and manipulate it by casting from it to make sure you have a big miracle next turn is always great, and the last effect is just a great bonus. Insane card, even if it still costs 4 mana with a miracle. Shark Typhoon is fun, and you play enough non-creature spells to make some good use of it, and if you're in a pinch, you can cycle it to get a decent token and save it to revive with another effect later. I like it, but can understand if you don't. As for ones that you can run that we don't, Hallowed Haunting is good and I like it, but it's like $10. I just talked about Imposter Syndrome and my favorite Spider-Man cards, so let's just play that clip again, except add that it's like $10 and that's why I don't want to run it. I love Imposter Syndrome so much, but there's not tons to say about it. I love weird copying effects, and the fact that it doesn't keep them legendary opens a lot of doors for some wacky and weird effect stacking. I don't think it's going to be a staple in all of my decks or anything, but I do really like it, and can see myself getting to the point where I just shove this in a lot of blue decks in general, because I just think it's a fun card and leads to some wacky scenarios. It's like $10, and that's why I don't want to run it. Mind's Dilatation could be fun, but can be a bit too mean in some playgroups. Exiling the top anytime an opponent casts anything is a lot of fun to me. I just didn't have room, and I already had enough big enchantments, so if I can find enough room, I'll add it back in. Omniscience is good, but I don't want to pay $8 for it. Overlord of the Flood Pits gets you great draw power every time you attack with it, which is especially good with a 4 mana reduction. It's pretty good. Shadow of the Second Sun gets you an extra combat every turn, or an opponent if you really wanted that for some reason. Well, this isn't a combat deck. It can help with finishing games, which the deck has a tough time with sometimes. Sphere of Safety is good, but I just find it unfun. If you don't, go ahead and run it. Spirit Sister's Call is a great way to recur enchantments, but the exile when they leave kills it for me since, as I'm probably going to say a lot in a lot of videos, I hate exiling my own stuff. The Elders Reborn is the only saga we're covering here, and it's a good one. Making every opponent sack a creature is good, even though they get to pick, so 9 times out of 10 they'll just sack the worst creature. The second chapter is a similar deal, it's fine, but they'll just discard a useless card a lot of the time. The third of Reviving is pretty fucking good. I just don't want to wait 3 turns for that. I don't know if this counts, but the Master of Keys gets a 4 mana reduction off its X cost with Miracle, and if you want to go hard into a graveyard focus, the mill is great, and it being a 7/7 with the 4 reduction is fun. I just don't like the second ability, solely because I hate exiling my own stuff. Weft Walking is a fun enchantment that resets your hand in graveyard and makes everyone's first spell free. I think it's fun, but I can see people thinking it's not worth the risk if your opponent's popping off on you easier and ruining your day. Zur the Enchanter is good, but it makes me feel dirty. Zur Internal Schemer is a great way to protect your enchantments and has a great secondary effect in a pinch. It's just $3 and it put me over the budget. There's a lot of enchantments, but those are just some of the ones I liked. This is one of those hard sections because there's just so much to talk about, and I can't talk about every enchantment in the game, you know what I mean? So let's move on. Skullcap Nuisance is a good way to get an extra Surveil repeatedly to make sure your top deck is what you want. It also makes for an alright defender or a decent flyer in a pinch. Okay, time for something a bit different. I wrote a script for this segment, but so many of the cards were just the same thing. So here's a small snippet that covers 90% of these cards. Brain Surge is a good draw spell that also ensures you stack your top deck to get a good miracle. Consider is a good Surveil that is also a cantrip and is cheap. Diabolic Vision lets you reorder the top 5 while also adding one of them to your hand. It's good. Otherworldly Gaze is the same type of deal, but you can flash it back? Flashback it? Whatever. Portent is the same thing. Read the Bones is a good draw spell. Telling Time is the same deal. There's a bunch of cards here. If you want some that I don't run, again, most of these cards have nothing to say about them, so Brainstorm is good. Ponder is good. Dream Eater's fine. Matoya is fine. Aqua's Form is fine. Behold, the Multiverse is fine. Biblioplex Kraken is fine. Look, they're just scry effects. There's nothing to say, okay? I know this section was phoned in, and I know it was short, but give me a break. This is nothing. There's nothing to talk about with these cards. Come on. Since we'll be surveilling a lot, we'll need a lot of recursion to make up for it. So here's ones that I like. Auramancer is a basic way to get back your enchantments to your hand, helping both getting back bigger enchantments that got removed, while also letting you get back smaller ones to trigger your enters effects. Nashi, Searcher in the Dark, makes for an okay early game drop that's evasive, fills your graveyard, and makes himself bigger or get some extra enchantments into your hand. You won't ever be forced to mill something you really needed enchantment-wise with it, so it's a good card. Noriki Yamazaki the Poet is great. Attacking alone with it can get you back into the game if you got a big enchantment removed. I wish it had an evasive keyword instead of vigilance, but it's still good here. Wow, I think this is the first battle I've ever covered on this channel. Invasion of Tolvada's Enters effect is the more important thing here. Getting back an enchantment or, I guess, anything you want, but most of the time it'll be an enchantment. The other side probably won't come up too often, but I mean, you do make some tokens, and giving them a small boost in lifelink isn't too shabby. It also making its own tokens is good too. It's just doing 5 damage to this isn't going to be too common for you to pull off. Dance of the Manse is pretty okay as a revival spell. It's a mana sink a lot of the time, but it can at least get back cheap rooms and cheaper enchantment creatures you may be running. But do note that if you revive a room with this, it'll be revived locked on both sides and you'll have to unlock them still. Redress Fate is one of your game winners, reviving every single enchantment from your graveyard back, filling your board instantly and triggering a lot of eerie effects. It's very expensive mana-wise if you don't pay its miracle cost, but it's still one of the best cards in the deck. Resurgent Belief is the same card, but with Suspend instead of Miracle. I don't know. I put Unearth and Victimize in every graveyard deck I have, so they're here. As for the ones you can run that I don't, there's honestly kind of nothing. Enchantment Revival isn't that common, and I feel I'm running almost every one that exists, but Abuelo's Awakening is decent. I just needed to cut it to make room for other stuff. Archon of Falling Stars is good if you're desperate. 6 mana and it being a death trigger is kinda much though. Brilliant Restoration is 7 mana with 4 white pips. We have 2 cards that do the same thing for better cost in my opinion. Even Redress Fate, which is 1 more mana, has less white pips and the Miracle to help it out, so I prefer that. Court of Ardenvale is alright and can give you some card draw if you stay the Monarch. I think that's most of them. Just run any revival or recurring spell that you like. Unlike the last video, I actually have some cards to talk about here. Fear of Imposters is a good counterspell effect that also gets you an eerie trigger and can even be used politically to counter someone's nothing spell so they can manifest and get an okay body out. I like it. Terminus is a great board wipe that dodges indestructible and is very hard to play around, but it also applies to you. I think it's good. Don't Make a Sound is a good counterspell that can give you a Surveil at worst, which is pretty alright. Not the best counterspell around, but I like it here and it's flavorful. As for other generic stuff, for removal, we're running Infernal Grasp, Void Rend, and Pylon for single target removal, and Austere Command as a second board wipe option. For counterspells, I'm always running Refute, as well as the Fear of Imposters and Don't Make a Sound that I mentioned before. There's actually a decent number of enchantment cost reducers and dorks. I'm running Inquisitive Glimmer for being an enchantment creature and it having good room reduction too, as well as Starfield Mystic since it can get decently big with enough enchantment creatures dying. You can also run Creeping Peeper and Starnheim Courser, or Sten Paranoid Partisan if you really need more of it. As for rocks, we're running the ones I always run, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, and Felwar Stone. I tend to run 7 of each basic land in 3 color decks, so there's 21 here. I also run the usual Arcane Sanctum. As for some more specific ones, Hellamar Depths and Study Hall get you an alright scry-like effect to help with the Miracle effect. Everything else is kind of standard. The only other thing I really wanted to mention here is that Hall of Heliod's Generosity is a really good card that can put enchantment cards from graveyards on top of your library to trigger the Miracle effect. It's just that it's like $7 or what so I can't really run it, you know, it's a budget build and all that stuff. Hi. This is being recorded a while after I recorded the rest of the audio because in a test recording of this, it didn't turn out well because like I was burnt out on shit. But now I'm mostly okay. So we're gonna talk about the deck itself or whatever. 24 creatures is weird. I usually run a lot more creatures than that. I'm usually the type that's like, this isn't a creature deck, and yet it's still running 32 creatures. But I guess not this time. I thought about, like, I'll take out a bunch of this stuff and add in more creatures, but, like, it's not worth it in this case for me. Like, I need to get used to not playing, like, a lot of creatures. I would just be adding more creatures for the sake of adding more creatures. The thing that worries me a bit is the mana curve on this deck. So if you're running into issues, I would suggest running a few more small cards. The biggest issue with the deck is payoff, because there just wasn't a lot of payoffs to pick from or whatever outside of like really gross enchantments. So I think like there is enough payoff here though. I tried my best at least, where you can fill the board with these tokens and trigger a bunch of Eerie's. You can do like a big revival with like Redress Fate to trigger like 15 Eerie effects by stacking things properly, so that you can do like a bunch of damage with like Baelmerk Leech. I keep saying Baelmerch Leak, but it's Baelmerk Leech to like close out a game, or do a big board wipe with Doomwake Giant to get a swing in for a lot of damage, or something like that at least, or whatever. Or make a bunch of tokens with Ghostly Dancers or whatever. Though these don't have haste, so it might not be the best one or whatever. Or getting like a bunch of big revive, or I guess not a bunch because it's only the third time, not the third time onwards. I could say you could try to fit in more win cons, but at the moment, I think we're good. I'm tempted to take out life insurance because I genuinely am kind of scared that at some point someone's going to board wipe, and it's like, and then Jira loses 27 life and draws 27 cards, and it's like, oh, that just kills me, or whatever, you know? But we'll see in practice, I guess. This is how everything's spread out in terms of the categories, or categorization, I guess. And this is what it is for card type or whatever. I was worried that we didn't run enough non-land permanents, because there are a few cards that are like, whenever you cast a non-land permanent, do X. But I think like 19 sorceries and instants total, a battle, and like 16 enchantments is enough. It's weird talking about a battle. Usually I'm not. Usually like, I think this is the first battle I've ever talked about on this channel or whatever. The color distribution, I don't know why the word escaped me for a second, is like, I think it's fine. Like it's roughly equal. Here's the thing I'm confused about. This says that there's 4 colorless cards in here, but there's only these 3, right? The battle isn't colorless. I don't think any of the rooms are colorless. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's anything colorless in here other than the enchantment, like the 3 artifacts, excuse me. So I don't know what's going on with that, but whatever. Let's do some hand testing. This seems like a fine hand. I'll go with this. I did a hand test earlier, like I said. First turn. We draw. Command Tower. I mean, that's always a good start. I wish we had a blue mana, because I would want to play this or whatever, but we don't have a way to access black or blue mana right now. So I think I'll just go with an aura planes, and then pass. There we go. We got a swamp. Swamp, black, blue, Skull Snap Nuisance, which is a pretty good defender for early game, and also gets us a Surveil, which can set up our graveyard for something like Auramancer. Next turn. This is good too. White, blue, Inquisitive Glimmer. That is an enchantment creature, so we do get to Surveil 1. We'll put this at the top because we could use some more ramp. And then enchantments cost 1 less. Is there anything we can do? No, because nothing is 1 mana. And this is turn 4, so we will play a plains. And then pass. We know it's a Fellwar Stone, so let's tap these 2. Black, blue, white, 1. Let's play our commander instead of the Fellwar Stone. That seems to be a better idea. And then I guess we'll have to pass. This deck is very slow. I don't know if that's going to be an issue, but at the beginning of my upkeep, so it's untap, upkeep, draw. So I'll just leave that on top so I can, yeah. White, blue, black. Oops. Yeah. Fear of Infinity. I'll get to surveil one again. Ooh, that's pretty fucking good. I'll put that on top. And then pass. Wait, do I pass? Yes, right? Yeah. And then I'll cast this for its miracle cost of just blue, because this reduces it by 1 and this reduces it by 4. So that reduces it by 5 total. So we will be able to play a Shark Typhoon. And then non-creature spell, huh? See, this is tough because it makes me want to play. I want to play Felbar Stone, but this is making me want to play Read the Bone so I can get a 3/3 shark instead. God, I hate this part about this. I have to like tilt my head. So let's see. That's kind of good, but not for now. I'll go with Read the Bones. 1, 2, black. 1, 2, black. I did that wrong, but Read the Bones. I draw 2. I scry 2, draw 2, lose 2. So I scry 2. Look at these two. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll put this on top. I'll put this like here. I draw 2, so I lose. I draw these 2 anyway. And then because I also lose 2 life. Because I cast a non-creature, I get a 3/3 shark. Where's the shark? Shark. Got it. That's a cool looking shark, my dude. It's a 3/3. Which is pretty good. We also have a flying lifelinker and a flying defender. I don't think, yeah, they're not enchantment creatures. I already surveyed for that. So that's the end of that turn. I think, right? Yeah. And so, untap, upkeep. I'm not drawing. I'm looking at the top. Yeah, that's pretty fucking good. I'll draw that and play that for just a blue because reduces it by 4, reduces it by 1. So that just cost a blue. Sadly, it is a creature spell. So we don't get the Shark Typhoon effect or whatever. Do I want to set up for next turn with Moonblessed Cleric? I think I'll play a white, and I'll play you. That way we can make our creatures bigger if we need to. And then we have 2 mana left. I'll just play the Felwar Stone. I should have played it earlier, probably. We cast a non-creature spell, so we get another shark. So let's go with the shark. We get 2. It's not as big, but I usually go for 10 turns. I don't know if I said that in this video, but I usually go for 10 turns when it comes to testing. Finally, another fucking land. We've been going. We needed more of those. Oh, Surveil want to keep that on top. I'll draw it. Yeah. We don't really have another enchantment that we want to play. This seems pretty good, but we'll. Either way, I think I'm playing the island. And then. God. So this costs 1 in a blue. I'll do that. 1 in a blue for this. It's the meat locker half, so I can tap down a creature that's a problem. I have to tilt my fucking head to read it because it's sideways or whatever. That's a non-creature. Here's the question. Okay, so I haven't looked this up. Does this count? Sorry. Does this count as 3 mana, or does this count as like all of it together? The thing that makes me think it's all of it together is that in the mana value, like the mana curve part, it says that this is like an 11 mana card. So I'm going to trust Mox Field because I trust these people. And I'm going to say this is a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is an 8. I'm going to trust it and say this is an 8. Does that seem fair to you guys? I think that's fair. And then the last turn is, so I surveil, I surveil up top, upkeep, surveil, whatever. Let's see. 1 black, huh? 1 black. For this room, I get another shark, and going by the logic of the last one, this is 4 plus 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? I hope I'm right, because it's going to make me look dumb if I'm not right. So we have an 11/11 shark. I think this is pretty fucking good. That it filled out this well. I didn't even think about this. We also get to put 2 plus and plus 1 counters on something for this. I'm gonna put 1. I'm tempted to put both on our commander to make it a better defender, but I think I'm gonna make this an 8/8 because we get 1 for this and 1 for this because I'm an idiot who forgets things. Is there anything else we can do this turn? 1, 2 white, Moonblessed Cleric. And then I get to view my library and put any. This is the right card, right? Okay. Any enchantment I get to put on top of the deck. I'm honestly thinking this is tough. This is the hardest part. It doesn't matter in this case because I gotta go Debtor's Knell, right? That's my favorite. I got to put that on top. I think this is a pretty good board. And then next turn I'd be able to blah. Surveil, keep that on top. 1, 2, 3. I get to revive something at every upkeep, and I get a 7/7 shark. I think this is pretty good. I think this is pretty fucking good. Last time it didn't go well, so I'm worried that like this was just lucky, but I think it's good. But the thing I was talking about is here. This says that this is an 11 mana cost card. So I assume that's how this works. Correct me if I'm wrong, I guess. Yeah, I like it. This seems to be fine. Again, the issue is without Shark Typhoon, that would have been bad, right? That would have only been okay because we wouldn't have had a good win condition or whatever. But I'd say figure it out. Like, if you need good win conditions, look for cool enchantments that you want and that you like. I don't know. I think this seems good. The testing went well, at least. I'll see you guys in the next video, I guess. Hope this was helpful. Hi, I guess that's the video. Thanks for watching. This was a really hard one to do because just like Saheeli, but worse, arguably, there's not a lot to say about a lot of these cards because there was so many of them, and it was a lot of like, this is a good enchantment to cheat in. I don't know. So I hope that this was at all entertaining or helpful to you or whatever. I'm going to make sure that the next one I do is a simpler, it's like one that I can talk about more, I guess, and talk about intricacies a little bit more because the last two have been hard. I'm also going to try to pick a fucking 2-color commander. I'm not going to keep you long. So I have a Blue Sky, it's in the description. I have a Let's Play channel, that's in the description. I also now have a coffee and a throne. Both of those things I have now, and those will be in the description. I hope this video helped you out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.